Hey everyone, welcome to 5 More Minutes, the show where two friends relive their childhoods or, in some cases, learn about everything they missed out on. I'm Kendra, and I'm here by myself this week because Scott's air conditioning doesn't work, and it's like 100 degrees outside, which means it's like low 90s in his house. And we just kind of, you know, didn't want to put him through sitting in a super hot room for an hour with the door shut and whatnot. So this will probably be a little bit shorter of an episode today. Um, I left my door open because my dog is chilling, but if she gets too whiny, I'm gonna go shut it. But yeah, so since it's just me, I'm going to be talking about The Witcher. The first 5 episodes of season 3 dropped on Netflix like a week ago. And I've watched those. It's not going to be a review of the first 5. I'll probably wait until Scott's here for that. He hasn't watched them yet. But as I was watching it, I was like, shit, there's a lot of stuff I've forgotten in between season 2 and season 3 specifically. So I'm going to do a brief recap of season 1 and then a brief recap of season 2. And I'm going to try not to read too much directly from these since it's just me. It might be a little bit more reading. But hopefully, if you haven't watched those 5 episodes yet, this will be a good way for you to be caught up before you watch them. Or if you haven't watched any of it, maybe you'll be like, damn, bro, what am I doing? I need to get on this shit. Even though Netflix sucks and it's like $17 a month. But there's not really that much we can say about that. So we're gonna jump in with season 1. Season 1 aired in December of 2019, I believe. So right before the world went crazy. I don't actually know if I watched it right away or if I waited until the world went crazy. But December of 2019, so about 3.5 years ago. Um, so that's a pretty good chunk of time. Part 1 was, or I mean, sorry, season 1 was a little intense, mostly just because we're getting Geralt, Yennefer, and Ciri's kind of stories through crisscrossing multiple timelines that aren't necessarily cohesive, and things are not taking part in the same time. But it all kind of comes together at the end of season 1. But I do remember having to like pull open a timeline while I was watching it, and I mean, granted, I don't always do a good job of paying attention to things, and if Scott were here, he would probably make fun of me for that. So I'll let you guys pretend what you think Scott would say. I thought about hanging my green screen up and putting a big picture of him in the background, but I hang it up attached to my ceiling, and I just didn't really feel like doing that. But right here is a picture of him in middle school, covering his face with his hand, walking with Jackie, and that's also Jackie right there. So you can say hi. Okay, so season 1 starts with an action-packed episode. It's a scene where Geralt is slaying and fighting monsters, but he also happens upon a path of a cursed princess turned bandit, who, in her dying words, tells Geralt of a young princess who is his destiny. And obviously, at the time, we're like, what? I mean, if you played the games, you probably know I read the books, because I think they do a pretty good job of following those. Obviously, we will find out that later that is Ciri. Geralt is not really much of a family man in season 1, so he's kind of, like whatever. Um, he teams up with Jaskier, who I feel like is kind of everyone's favorite. Like everyone likes Jaskier. Um, I feel like he's like the Brendan Urie of the fantasy world. Like that's the vibe he gives me. With his outfits and like his makeup and his broody grooves. Um, so uh he accompanies Geralt to the wedding feast of Princess Pavetta, the daughter of Queen Calanthe, who is a human woman who knows her way around the sword, but who has a deep prejudice of all magical creatures. When a young hedgehog man outs himself as Pavetta's lover and asks for her hand in marriage, Queen Calanthe orders him killed. He's saved by Geralt, and after kissing Pavetta, his curse is lifted, and he's turned back into a human. When asked how he can repay him, Geralt mockingly invokes Law of Surprise, immediately after which it's revealed that Pavetta is pregnant. Queen Calanthe curses Geralt, who walks away, never intending to actually claim said Law of Surprise. And I believe that we learn more about the Law of Surprise a little bit later. But basically, I'll just let me look up and read kind of a quick explanation. So it's kind of a thing that is when like one person comes to someone else's aid, but they don't have anything to offer right away, they can give them the Law of Surprise, which means that later on the savior can be like, oh, Law of Surprise, this is what you get in return or whatever. Like it's very vague, but in fantasy shows it can really alter someone's like life trajectory, which I think we obviously see, especially as we get into season 3. So yeah, it's usually generally unexpected. It's kind of a gamble. The savior never knows what they're going to acquire. So yeah, like they can be given a child or a dog, or maybe the person they save comes into a fortune and then they're given money later. You don't know what it is going to be. According to this Game Rant article in the book series, it was witchers who generally made use of it, right? Because they're recruiting people to their schools, they're saving people. It wasn't always a child, but sometimes. So, anywho, so basically, and in this point where it's opening, we're pretty far back in the timeline, right? Because Pavetta, we will find out later, is pregnant with Ciri, who is, like a teenager ish when we get to her storyline. So this is like 12, 15 years in the past from where season 1 is going to end. So Jaskier is cursed in this. Geralt seeks out a mage who can heal him, and that is how he crosses paths with Yennefer of Vengerberg. They fall in love. Geralt uses magic to make a wish to save her life when she's seemingly in danger. So they kind of have this broody fantasy love life. Honestly, a little bit trauma inducing, if you will. So they seem to kind of constantly be crossing paths throughout this. Hunting a dragon. Yennefer's trying to get her fertility back. They end up fighting when Geralt can't understand why Yennefer wants to have a child, because as a witcher, like I mentioned, Geralt's not really a family guy. Geralt gets mad at Jaskier, who leaves him, and the army of Nilfgaard is marching towards Cintra. So Cintra is where Queen Calanthe is, right? So that's Ciri's kind of kingdom. And we there obviously there's a fight there, which we will see. Yeah, and Nilfgaard is another powerful empire who is constantly kind of overtaking things and constantly after Ciri. So obviously, as we get into seasons 2 and season 3, we get way more involved in learning about Nilfgaard. We don't really know that much about them right now. But they are coming after Ciri at the later point in this timeline. Sorry, my computer's being slow, even though I'm not using Zoom, or I am using Zoom. No one else is connected to it. So when Geralt returns to Cintra, he discovers Pavetta's daughter Cirilla is now being raised by her grandmother, Queen Calanthe, after Pavetta and her husband were lost at sea, which honestly gives me really big Frozen vibes, like, you know, sea crash, lost at sea, parents dying, that sort of stuff. Geralt has come to Cintra because the Nilfgaardian forces are marching, and he aims to protect Princess Cirilla. Queen Calanthe rejects Geralt's claim and throws him in prison. So she kind of is just like, nah, this is not happening. We don't believe you. Calanthe gets injured in battle and then calls for Geralt to claim Cirilla. But Geralt has already broken free from prison because he's a Witcher and you can't hold him back. He's his own person. He's born that way. Not really, but whatever. Geralt arrives at a last stand of sorts where the sorceresses are fighting against Nilfgaard's forces just in time to see Yennefer use chaos magic to lay waste to Nilfgaard's forces. In the aftermath, Yennefer is nowhere to be found, but Ciri hears Geralt crying for Yennefer and the two are finally united. People linked by destiny will always find each other, Geralt tells Ciri. All right, so we're also jumping in through Yennefer's storyline here, which is why this first season is kind of complicated. Yennefer's story begins a very long time ago. She's hunchback. She's a young girl. She's abused by her parents. Very traumatic and tragic life. They kind of portray her as being kind of, I guess, like the ugly duckling in this. Definitely does not appear as beautiful as she does as an adult. But she is sold to Tissaia, who could see the magical potential in Yennefer. And she's brought to Aretuza, where she is trained to become a sorceress. While there, she strikes up a relationship with sorcerer and historian named Istredd, who is actually working for Stregobor, who is head of the school for male mages as a spy. So there's kind of separate magical schools based on gender. Yennefer wants to be even more powerful than she already is, and undergoes an intense physical procedure to make her one of the most powerful mages. But she loses her fertility in the process of this, and cannot bear children. So when Geralt sees her and she's trying to get her fertility back, this is why. Years later, Yennefer works as a mage in a small town, crosses paths again with Geralt, who needs to heal Jaskier. So this is kind of where our story is overlapping here. She does this, but during an incantation appears to be in danger, and this is when Geralt makes a wish to save her life. But in the end, it bonds the two in a way neither expected, and they make their romantic relationship official. But then get into a fight, like mentioned before, when Yennefer is trying to find a way to have a child, because Geralt's like, I don't want no kid, bitch. Yennefer then tries to reconnect with Istredd, but he's hurt that she chose power over him. And she's lured back to Aretuza, where Tissaia is rallying mage forces to counter Nilfgaard's push north. So they're trying to hold off Nilfgaard, who is continuously kind of trying to take over these other empires. The Brotherhood decides to stay neutral. While at first Yennefer declines to get involved, she is convinced to join the fight by Tissaia. Again, obviously, she is a very strong mage. She's, given up fertility to be a strong mage. And during the finale of season 1, we see kind of this fight between mages and Nilfgaardian forces. There's lots of fire, lots of death, and she's urged by Tissaia to kind of embrace chaos and let out massive magical flame that engulfs the entire invading army. And obviously, if you've watched any of this, I have kind of mixed feelings about Tissaia. She's kind of a bitch. The actress who plays her, I don't remember her name, but she was in some episodes of Downton Abbey, and all I can picture her as is a early 1900s British woman, kind of with a stick up her butt. That might just be me. I don't know. You guys might not see that. So then we'll do a quick summary of Cirilla's kind of timeline and what's happening with her in this season. So, like I mentioned in the beginning, her story starts significantly later chronologically than Geralt and Yennefer's, right? Because when this season or this show, I guess, starts, her mother is pregnant with her, right? So this is 12-ish, maybe even a little bit younger when we first get a clip of her. But, somewhere around like tween. Do people still say that? Tween? That's such a weird word. Tween age. But obviously their stories are intertwined kind of destiny-wise. And as you're so why am I literally freezing when no one else is on the Zoom call? This is absolutely ridiculous. So hopefully the audio is not messed up. But when we see her, we never see her parents in the picture with her as an actual child in existence. We just see her being raised by her grandmother. And as Nilfgaardian forces close in on Cintra, Cirilla is forced to flee, right? Her kind of everyone's goal there is for her to be alive, unless they're, on the enemy side. So Queen Calanthe tells Cirilla to find Geralt of Rivia. He is your destiny. So Ciri escapes on horseback, and when cornered, she lets out a guttural scream full of magic that topples a nearby monolith. This is very important and will come into play later. By later, I mean season 2. Ciri crosses paths with an elf named Dara, with whom she takes safe harbor in a forest. When they're attacked, Dara abandons her. Ciri is then rescued by a woman, and while recovering in her hut, she hears Geralt's cries for Yennefer. She basically finds a family. The season ends with her finding Geralt in a forest and embracing him, and thus her destiny, before asking him, "Who's Yennefer?" We could hear him cry, right? And so this sets up season 2, where we really get to see Geralt and Ciri interacting with each other. So in season 1, we're kind of getting the grand scheme of everyone's storyline, and we're seeing it's almost like season 2 is where we really get into like the current story, and season 1 is just backstory. At least that's how I viewed it in my brain, because we're seeing all these multiple timelines, and different characters, and we're seeing how they converge and how we get to what the actual meat of the story is. But if you are like me and you have a hard time watching shows and you haven't watched this yet, it wouldn't hurt to like pull up a timeline like the Witcher season 1 timeline, because it really shows how everything kind of overlaps, because we're covering a span of like 12 or 15 years or whatever, all in this one season of 8 or 10 episodes. So season 2 aired in December of 2021, so about a year and a half ago. So I was actually surprised that I had forgotten so much of it when it hasn't even been a full 2 years. And I kind of wish I would have read a recap myself before starting it, just because, I mean, that is a long time, right? You're kind of cramming watching the show into like, days or weeks within it coming out, and you don't touch it again, because that's what modern day streaming does. You're not watching a new episode every Thursday night at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m., whatever time CSI was on. So I actually did start watching season 3 and then stop and watch a video recap. That kind of helped, but I'm hoping to get into a little bit more detail here than the video recap did, because there were a lot of moving parts in season 2 that really jumped us into the story. So obviously what we have learned from that is that Geralt is basically in charge of Ciri as the law of surprise. Like, he has been given Ciri basically for saving her family earlier, when her mother was pregnant with her. But he is protecting her after the fall of her kingdom, Cintra, due to Nilfgaardian forces. So with a devious, and sorry, the first article I read was from thewrap.com, just to throw that out there. This one is from Collider. So there's a devious organization of mages manipulating politics. Honestly, this show is just set up so you're getting several perspectives. We're kind of getting perspectives from all these organizations, mages, humans, elves. This is very much a world where all of these races of people are very separated. So like very traditional, like if you play D&D, very traditional Forgotten Realms. Or if you're playing a game where like half elves are looked down upon because they're not full elves.
Coughing intermission. Coughing intermission.
Things like that. So very, very much races are not working together in this world frequently, right? There are obviously some races, some groups of people who have working relationships or the ability to team up with one another, but it is not a commonplace thing. So this season is pretty dangerous and pretty bloody. There's some death. We get a lot of new players. We learn more about Ciri's abilities, and so does she. But we also got a lot of reveals, and some of these reveals I had kind of forgot about until I started watching season 3, and I was like, "Oh, hold up, let's revisit season 2." Sorry, my dog just popped up in here. If you're on the YouTube, there she is. You being a baby? You want to co-host? Go lay down. Okay. I think she's confused about who I'm talking to, honestly. All right. So obviously season 2 is in the aftermath of the Battle of Sodden, which is when the mages of Aretuza were trying to hold off the Nilfgaardian army. And we kind of don't know what happens to Yennefer. That's how come when Ciri and Geralt find each other, he is yelling Yennefer's name because she basically let out this huge explosion of fire magic, and a lot of people died. Like a lot of people on both sides die. And this season kind of starts with them being Geralt and Ciri looking for Yennefer, because Geralt obviously has, love for Yennefer. Tissaia believes that Yennefer is dead because of the magic that she poured through herself. So Geralt and Ciri kind of leave the carnage as the mages are attempting to regroup. And they declare Nilfgaard sympathizer Fringilla a traitor, and they take the Black Knight Cahir captive. And both of those people play very large roles in this season. So Yennefer's alive, but she has been captured by Nilfgaard. So everyone presumes that she is dead, right? Because her body's not there, she's not there, and she lit out a bunch of fire from her body. Because she was basically using like forbidden magic to win this battle. So she's actually lost her connection to chaos, which is where she gets her magic from. So Yennefer basically uses all of her abilities to win this battle and no longer has access to her magic. So think of chaos as like her entity, right? If I know it's a little bit different. It's probably more like a wizard, but if you think of like a warlock, right, who's kind of made a pact, it's like she's lost her ability to reach into that and channel it through her. So Yennefer and Fringilla are both prisoners, and they overhear the elves' leader Francesca talking about her dream, which the mages share. So they've all had this same dream. They see a mysterious figure in robes. The robes are always a different color, though, for each person. And they work together to interpret that dream, which unveils an old elvish goddess called the Deathless Mother. An incantation transports the three women to a cabin in the woods, spooky, where the Deathless Mother promises each something they want for the right price. And honestly, this is a very weird cabin in the woods. Like, it's in the middle of a forest. It's one of those small, rickety, old-looking cabins. Maybe has like a couple windows, but like it's not like a cute cabin in the woods. It's like a murder shack in the woods, like honestly. Um Fringilla and Francesca. Okay, sorry, I skipped a little bit. So Yennefer obviously wants her powers back, but she doesn't know what the cost is going to be. Fringilla is offered power if she works with the elves, right? Which would more or less make her a traitor. Francesca learns to bear a living child. She needs her elves to live in peace with men. So that is obviously like a bigger political thing that she has to work for if she wants to bear a child. Fringilla and Francesca make a deal with each other where Nilfgaard offers refuge and for elves who will help them against their common enemy, allowing for both women to obey the Deathless Mother. So basically, the humans and the elves are going to work together in this instance. Yennefer refuses to join. She doesn't think that this deal is worth it for her. She wants her magic back, but she doesn't want it back like this. So she's allowed to leave. Like she just leaves. She's free. She just doesn't have magic. Geralt is obviously needing to take Ciri somewhere safe since so many people are after her. So they go back to Kaer Morhen, which is where the Witcher population is. The Witchers are dwindling. They are not gaining like new kids to become Witchers anymore. And if you watched the animated movie, it kind of went over the process of that, which is very grueling. So it's not really surprising. And they're just obviously losing population. So the other Witchers don't really approve of Geralt taking care of Ciri, especially Vesemir. But an attack from the Witcher Eskel, whose wounds have turned him into a tree-like leshy, kind of distracts him all. He literally turns into a tree man. So Geralt kills him to save Vesemir, but he struggles with the guilt, right? Because he killed one of his own, and there's already so few of them. Ciri's angry. She's fearful. She convinces Geralt to train her so that she can protect herself. So there is a large part of season 2, which is just Ciri being pushed and trained by other Witchers on this course, which if you play one of the games, I believe you're actually doing this as Ciri. So yeah, she's obviously, I mean, she's mastering this training, right? She's actually doing a really good job. Geralt is not super thrilled that she is doing this. And around the same time, Ciri confides in Geralt about her occasional glimpses of foresight, so kind of her ability to touch someone more or less and see. I don't even know if she has to touch them actually, but she's able to see what is going to happen to a person, right? Which is kind of a big deal, especially as like a younger teenager who already has, parental issues. Now you're being taken care of by an angry man who doesn't like families, who doesn't talk, who loves his horse more than anyone else. So they follow a vision into the woods, and they find the Leshy that turned Eskel. But he's killed by an unknown scorpion-like monster, which Ciri and Geralt have to kill. And they're puzzled by all these new monsters. There are monsters here that they have never seen before. So Vesemir and Geralt invite Triss, another mage. And she basically is just confirming that this transformation that happened was not the work of a mage. And then there's a big realization that the monolith Ciri toppled when she screamed during the fall of Cintra as she fled Cintra. Basically opened into like another world. So they're having monsters from other worlds pour into their world, and that's where all these monsters are coming from. Geralt goes and investigates the fallen monolith, and Vesemir discovers the flowers that grow in elder blood, where Ciri's blood is touching the ground. And this is supposedly extinct and an integral part of creating new witchers. So since they don't have this blood, they can't create new witchers, and that is why their population is dwindling. Because it's kind of like a blood transfusion thingy that causes witchers to be created. Okay, Yennefer returns to mages, but she's trying to hide the fact that she no longer has her magic. And since she is part elf, a lot of people mistrust her. So, like I said, there's a lot of disdain, lack of trust, kind of hate for people who are half elf. So she has to admit that she can't perform magic, she can't execute the Cahir. Yennefer chooses to keep her secret, and rather than killing Cahir, because she's kind of set in this position where it's like kill him or else, basically. She frees him, and they both escape. And she's just hoping that he can keep her enemies from capturing her, since she doesn't have magic. So Yennefer and Cahir hear of a mysterious sandpiper who helps elves get to freedom. And when they reach him, this turns out to be Jaskier. And I didn't mention this in the season 1 recap. Obviously, toss a coin to your Witcher, super big hit. Everyone was singing that in 2020 because it was COVID and we didn't have anything better to do. Jaskier is very much angry in season 2, and comes up with a new song called "Burn Witcher Burn." I think. Very, very big Brendan Urie Panic at the Disco vibes. But Jaskier and Yennefer generally don't like each other, but he still helps them, right? So he's helping them leave, essentially on a ship with some other people who are fleeing. But Jaskier is captured, and Yennefer actually abandons her plan to save him. So I feel like we're getting a lot of character growth, right? They don't necessarily like each other, but they are helping each other. A fire mage, Rience, is freed from prison to chase Ciri for an anonymous employer. It's Rience who captures and tortures Jaskier to learn more about Geralt. Yennefer finds him, but is no match for Rience without her powers. So she turns Rience's fire back on him with alcohol, because that shit burns, giving herself and Jaskier time to escape. But Yennefer is still wanted. When she's caught, her only way out is to make her deal with the Deathless Mother to get her magic back. But what the Deathless Mother wants is for Yennefer to deliver Ciri in exchange for her magic. So that's kind of a big ask there, but I don't think when she made the deal, she may not have fully realized why. I'm gonna just go out. So, as has been led on, there's a lot of mysteries surrounding Ciri. Triss portals Geralt to Istredd, the same mage who Yennefer was interested in, and he has been studying the monoliths. Geralt explains the story, but he doesn't really Istredd doesn't really believe him until he takes him to the monolith. And then he gets a theory that the monoliths are not points of impact from the conjunction of spheres as everyone believes, but instead gateways to other worlds. So Ciri's voice is causing a disturbance in these monoliths, which is, causing these new monsters, otherworldly monsters, to appear. So at Kaer Morhen, Vesemir hopes to use Ciri's blood to make more Witcher mutagen. Ciri agrees if she can become a Witcher herself, but Vesemir refuses, citing the transformation's dangers. Ciri convinces him, and with Triss's help, they recreate the mutagen. Triss tries to talk Ciri out of taking it, and Triss uses magic to allow Ciri to search her deepest memories for the source of her powers. Because they're really trying to figure out, why she's like this. It doesn't work. They see Ciri's mother, an elf ancestor, and hear Ithaline's prophecy. And Ithiliene's prophecy. Let's just do a quick recap on that. Ithiliene is the daughter of Avinian, an elven healer, astrologist, and soothsayer, known and respected for her soothsaying gift. Her predictions have, time and time again, proven to have correctly foretold a number of things, such as the Northern Wars and the catastrophic plague. She is also the one who foresees the elves rise to their former power and glory through the offspring of elder blood. So absolute is the elves' trust in the revered prophet that Voleth Mare, a witch of the Wild Hunt, purports to be her in the Witcher blood origin in order to trick Francesca Findabair into escaping from her prison. So the prophecy, the time of the spears is upon us, and seed lost across the skies, cast adrift in time, ever searching for love, lost and left behind. The lark's seed shall carry forth the first note of a song that ends all time, and one of her blood shall sing the last. So a little ominous. We will learn a little bit more about this. It's possible for Ciri to be the descendant of the lark with her voice, and her magic and that sort of thing. Okay. Triss is left believing Ciri is destined to destroy the world, but Ciri's desire to become a Witcher grows stronger. As Vesemir premieres to give Ciri the mutagen, Geralt returns and stops it, because there ain't no way he's letting that happen to his suppressed job. Vesemir regrets his actions. Geralt takes Ciri on a journey, and after they leave, Rience attacks Kaer Morhen in search of Ciri. Vesemir is injured, and Rience steals some mutagen with Ciri's blood, hoping to earn a meeting with his mysterious benefactor. With the blood missing, Triss tells Tissaia what she discovered about Ciri. The mages plan to go after Ciri themselves. So basically, everyone is looking for Ciri for good and or bad reasons. It is like America's Most Wanted, and she did nothing wrong except exist, and they want her. Istrid is looking into Ciri's ancestry and discovers his secret gene in the royal line, which he manages to tie back to the elf warrior Laura Doran, suggesting Ciri is a generational weapon that threatens destruction. So basically, if untrained and uncontrolled, Ciri can basically destroy all of existence. All right. So, Spymaster Dijkstra sets the Redanian king's sight on Cintra, placing Ciri's friend Dara among the elf refugees as a spy. But neither Fringilla nor Francesca realizes it, because they are so focused on other problems. When Cahir returns, Francesca fears Fringilla will turn her power over, but Cahir wants to resume his pursuit of Ciri. Francesca goes into labor early, and Fringilla helps to save the nearly stillborn baby elf. The elves celebrate the birth, no longer wishing to fight. With the news of their leader, the White Flame, is coming, Fringilla and Cahir prepare for his arrival. But Cahir fears spies among the elves. Because remember, elves and men are kind of living and working together for the first time. The generals threaten mutiny over working with elves. Fringilla doubts herself but finds renewed purpose. And using magic, she kills all the generals, leaving Cahir alive to lie and say the killing was unnecessary. But Francesca's baby is murdered, and Dara confesses to being a spy, though he tried to quit. Dara seems like he's got a lot going on. Francesca forgives him, but seeks revenge by using magic to kill the Redanian babies. The elves' disappearance complicates Fringilla's plan for Emhyr, but Cahir suggests she take credit for the baby's murder, which set the elves against Nilfgaard's enemies without their people having to fight. On their journey, Geralt and Ciri are attacked by a monster. This time, Geralt allows Ciri to help slay the beast, offering her as bait while Geralt makes the kill. They arrive at the temple of Militel, a school that taught a young Geralt science. Very studious man. In her search for Ciri, Yennefer finds Geralt instead, not knowing that he is Ciri's protector. Alone, Ciri is surrounded by Rience and his companions. Geralt and Yennefer come to the rescue. Geralt holds off the attackers, and Yennefer gets Ciri to safety. Yennefer teaches Ciri to portal, and they escape. Geralt witnesses their departure, realizing that Yennefer is up to something. He goes after Ciri, but first stops to rescue Jaskier. Geralt frees him from jail, and they make up, because you gotta have a bromance, you know? Jaskier fills in pieces of Yennefer's story, and Geralt figures out her involvement with the Deathless Mother, or Voleth Meir. Jaskier tries convincing Geralt to show Yennefer mercy, but now he's in, like, I'm a daddy mode. I got nothing to hold back here, bitches. Intending to deliver Ciri to Deathless Mother, Yennefer tells her Geralt needs saving in Cintra. On the way, Yennefer teaches Ciri more magic, and Ciri's determination endears her to Yennefer. So as they near their destination, Yennefer has a change of heart. She's like, shit, this girl's pretty dope. I like her. I'm going to teach her stuff. Nilfgaard catches Yennefer and Ciri, but Geralt shows up in time to save them. When Geralt sends Ciri with Jaskier, it seems like he may get revenge on Yennefer, but he instead makes Yennefer take him to the Deathless Mother. They find Voleth Meir breaking out of her prison set by the First Witchers. With her new chance at life, Voleth Meir possesses Ciri. In a dreamlike vision, Ciri returns to her old life with those she lost, getting sucked in by the fantasy. Meanwhile, Voleth Meir uses Ciri's body to kill the Witchers in Kaer Morhen. Geralt goes to Vesemir for help, catching Voleth Meir about to kill him. And remember, there's already not really Witchers left. He realizes that Voleth Meir isn't only free, but in Ciri's body. Vesemir suggests sacrificing Ciri to kill Voleth Meir, but Geralt looks for another way. Like, all in the process of this big fight, I'm pretty sure there was, like, dragons or wormlings. Geralt keeps rejecting Yennefer's help. He confronts Voleth Meir, offering himself in Ciri's place, but she's like, no, bitch, I got this bitch. So she's using Ciri's power to create monoliths, which are bringing monsters into Kaer Morhen, and they're just annihilating the Witchers. Like, they're too big, too powerful, there's not enough Witchers. Geralt's voice breaks through, and for a moment, she sees monsters rather than people. Ciri does. But the vision holds, adding her parents to entice her to stay. So basically, the Deathless Mother is, like, showing her, like, oh, you can be with your family, but, like, it's very confusing. Vesemir takes a killing shot, but Voleth Meir heals the wound. Geralt and the Witcher stop fighting, choosing their love for Ciri over the hate and chaos that strengthens Voleth Meir. And Ciri hears the Witchers, and her dream falls apart as she chooses the Witchers over the vision of her family. Okay, my computer is spazzing out and playing ads in the background. Okay. So Ciri is freed, but Voleth Meir needs a vessel, and Yennefer offers herself, most likely because she feels bad for doing this. Geralt asks Ciri to use the new monolith to get Voleth Meir back into her world, though Ciri has little control. She opens a portal, and Yennefer, Geralt, and Ciri go through. Voleth Meir leaves Yennefer's body. That's funny, because, like, Jennifer's body, you know? But they aren't alone in the world. The Wild Hunt appears, calling for Ciri to join them. Ciri manages to get the three of them home whenever magic returns, which is all she really wanted anyway. So Ciri is a target for many, and basically to keep moving. It's like the Witness Protection Program, but fantasy version, where they just have to go to all of Geralt's friends, pay him money, and then leave every, like, month. And Yennefer, he doesn't forgive Yennefer at the end of season 2, but he does allow her to join them and teach Ciri. And so I had so the part that threw me out was season 3 kind of starts with them moving, and I just really could not remember why, because it had been so long. So there's all those factors at play. There's so many groups of people going after Ciri. It is kind of a lot to grasp. But we do end with cliffhangers, right? The mages are going after Ciri. There's a bounty on her and anyone who protects her. Istrid goes to the elves, telling them about Ciri's elder blood and her connection to the prophecy. And this leads the elves to believe that she is the answer to their problems. Nilfgaard has been after Ciri since the beginning, and Emhyr's arrival explains why. After catching Fringilla and Cahir in their lie about killing the baby, Emhyr's face finally appears. This was a man who we had only seen, like, the back of for this entire season. And at the end of season 2, we learn that he is Ciri's believed to be dead father. So, in a twist unlike Frozen, the father is not actually dead, but Ciri doesn't know he's alive. I don't know if a lot of people know who he is. I believe some of them do. And obviously there's no like, Instagram in the fantasy world. But yeah, so there's a lot of things that play at the end of season 2. And I almost wish that I had rewatched it before rewatching season 3. So the first 5 episodes of season 3 of The Witcher are out on Netflix, and the final 5 episodes of season 3 come out on July 27th. And then who knows what happens after that with apparently no more Henry Cavill. Yeah, so hopefully that wasn't too much talking. And I'm sorry if you were here for Scott because you like his voice or think he's handsome or has nice biceps or whatever. He's not here, but he should be back in 2 weeks when we release our new episode. Big announcement for this one is that we are holding a giveaway on our Instagram, and depending on when you're listening to this, there should already be a post and a reel about it. But basically, we are doing a giveaway where you will be entered to win this Ultra Goku Instinct that I 3D printed and painted by hand. Totally free of cost. We will ship it to you internationally, even if you really want. This is pretty poor lighting, but there are better pictures and videos on our Instagram. All you have to do to be entered to win this is to leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. Take a screenshot of it and either send it to us on Instagram at 5MMPOD or to our email, which is 5 spelled out. So FIVE more minutes pod at gmail.com. But make sure if you're doing the email version that you include your username for Instagram, because we are going to compile all the usernames into an online thing and it will randomly select someone. So we're going to have that open for 1 week, so until the 16th. And like I said, totally free. We'll pay for shipping. We will ship this to you. It'll be wrapped super protectively because I do not want to have wasted my time doing this. So please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Send us that so you can be entered to win Goku. Follow us on our socials at 5MMPOD. You can also find us on Threads now. Send us an email to 5FIVE more minutes pod at gmail.com. Like and subscribe, download our episodes, and bye, bitches.